Ma tovu ohalecha Yaakov, how beautiful are your tents, O Jacob. What traditions they hold, what memories, what wisdom. But yet they do not only remind us of a glorious past. Instead, our tents are open. Our tents are open wide, ready to receive and love all those who seek during this new year and bring to us the new stories that they will tell. We are all beloved, all possessing potential, all making our way back here. We are all held and loved under this sacred tent, precious to God and dear to one another. Let's read together on page 123 in the middle. Precious above all is the soul within me, a spark of childhood innocence, curious, hopeful, loving, and good. Whatever I've done, wherever I've gone wrong, however I've been hurt, I know its light still shines. May I return and reconnect with the part of me that belongs to you, my divine core, eternal, incorruptible. Baruch atah Adonai, asher b'yado nefesh kol chai, v'ruach kol b'sar ish. We give you praise, Adonai. All life is in your hand, and in your care, the soul of every human being. Continue on page 124 with our blessings for daily miracles. And I invite you to join along when you get the pattern, which is the first part Hebrew, the second part English. And it'll wake us up a little bit in addition to getting us to think about our daily blessings.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam. Your great power gave the mind discernment to distinguish light from darkness.
Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam. Your great power opens eyes that cannot see.
Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam. Your great power brings freedom to the captive.
Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam. Your great power lifts up the fallen.
Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam. Your great power spreads the land upon the waters.
Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam. Your great power has made all I need.
Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam. Your great power gives firmness to our steps.
Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam. Your great power clothes the naked.
Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam. Your great power gives strength to the weary.
Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam. Your great power removes sleep from my eyes and slumber from my eyelids.
Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam. Your great power made me in the image of God.
Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam. Your great power endowed me with human freedom.
Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam. Your great power has made me Yisrael.
Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam. Your great power gives strength to Yisrael.
Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam. Your great power crowns Israel with glory.
Amen. We read together at the top of page 129. Blessed are the works of your hands, O Holy One. Blessed are the hands that have touched life. Blessed are the hands that have nurtured a child. Blessed are the hands that have embraced with love and friendship. Blessed are hands that have planted new seeds. Blessed are hands that have harvested ripe fields. Blessed are hands that have cleaned, washed, mopped, and scrubbed. Blessed are hands that have held pain. Blessed are hands that have become knotty with age. Blessed are hands that are wrinkled and scarred from doing justice. Blessed are hands that hold the promise of the future. Blessed are the works of your hands, O Holy One. We continue on page 132 as we sing Ashrei.
Ashrei yoshvei betecha, od yehalelucha selah. Ashrei yoshvei betecha, od yehalelucha selah. Ashrei, ashrei, ashrei yoshvei betecha. Ashrei, ashrei, ashrei yoshvei betecha. Happy are those who dwell in your house, they will sing your praises forever. Happy are those who dwell in your house, they will sing your praises forever. Ashrei yoshvei betecha, od yehalelucha selah. Ashrei yoshvei betecha, od yehalelucha selah.
On the subject of happiness and gratitude, things that make us happy, that we are grateful for, I invite everyone to just think right now one thing or maybe more things that you are grateful for on this day of Rosh Hashanah. And when you have that, I invite you to go ahead and stand up, and I'm going to ask that you meet someone new that you have not met before. We're going to do our purposeful schmooze. That's the thing here at West End Temple, where we schmooze, we meet other people, we kind of go beneath the surface of a regular schmooze into a schmooze with purpose. So inviting you to think of something that you are grateful for, and actually we're going to stand up. You can leave, you should, can and should, leave the pews, go find someone new, say hello, say welcome to West End Temple, and find out their name and one thing that they are grateful for. Go ahead. Yes, not kidding, yes. invite everyone to wrap up their schmooze.
We've been asked to stand more often.
Okay. Beautiful schmoozing, everyone. See how much happiness and gratitude we brought into this space. I think that was maybe the best schmooze I've seen. Top line, yeah, I give it a 10. 10 out of 10 for schmoozing. It's beautiful.
I give it a 9.
9?
9. There's room to grow always.
Always room to grow. Okay, beautiful. We brought happiness, we brought gratitude into these walls, into this tent. Everyone, we are going to continue our service with the Baruch Hu. You can find the words here on page 8 of your supplement. Please rise.
Am I awake? Am I prepared? Are you listening to my prayer? Can you hear my voice? Can you understand? Am I awake? Am I prepared?
We turn to page 146. Let's read together. Love abundant, love unstinting. Our God, you have enfolded us in love. Tender compassion beyond all bounds, your precious gift. Our fathers and mothers gave you their trust, and you gave them Torah, laws by which to live. For their sake, teach us as well. Grace us with your guidance. Loving Father, merciful Mother of us all, grant us clear understanding that we may listen, learn, teach, preserve, practice, and fulfill with love every lesson of your Torah. May learning your Torah light up our eyes. May our hearts embrace your mitzvot. Unite us in love and reverence for you, that we may never feel ashamed of our deeds. We have trusted in your great and holy name. Now let us celebrate at last the joy of your salvation. Bring us in peace from the four corners of the earth. Lead us with upright pride to the land that is ours. For you are a God of our miracles and wonders. From all the peoples of the earth you sought us out and brought us near to your great enduring truth. So with love we acknowledge and proclaim that you are one. Baruch atah Adonai, habocher be'amo Yisrael be'ahava. You have our praise to you, Adonai. You have singled out your people Israel with love. Page 150. Invite Liv to lead us in Via Hafta, page 152.
Ve'afta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levavcha v'chol nafshecha u'v'chol me'odecha ve'hayu hadvarim ha'ele asher anochi mitzavecha hayom al levavecha v'shinantam levanecha v'dibarta bam v'shiftecha b'veitacha uvleftecha b'derech uv'shofbecha uv'kumecha uv'kshartam le'ot al yadacha v'hayu letotafot b'neinecha uchtaftam al mezuzot beitecha uv'isharecha למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם. Adonai Elohechem Emet.
Continue on page 164 with Micha Mocha. Please rise as we turn to page 166. Page 172. Why do I, for one, want to hear all of Unatana Tokef, not only the comforting parts? An answer comes from the octogenarian violinist Olga Bloom, founder of barge music in Brooklyn. Olga was once asked by the mayor of New York, "Olga, why don't you put the barge on pilings so that when a large boat passes and causes a wake, the barge won't rock anymore and the piano won't ever roll across the stage during a performance as it once did?" Olga replied, "I will never put the barge up on pilings because all beauty, all art, is in some way a wrestling with impermanence and death. Unatana Tokef is an artistic wrestling with impermanence and death, with deeds and their consequences, with power and powerlessness, with fear and reassurance, with mistakes and second chances. Page 174. And so let these words of sanctity ascend to you, for you are our God and sovereign. Proclaim the power of this day, a day whose holiness awakens deepest awe and inspires highest praise for your dominion. For your throne is a throne of love. Your reign is a reign of truth. In truth, you are judge and plaintiff, counselor and witness. You inscribe and seal. You record and recount. You remember all that we have forgotten. And when you open the book of memories, it speaks for itself. For every human hand leaves its mark, an imprint like no other. Page 176.
Uveshofar gadol yitaka דממתך יישמע, ומלאכים יחפזון, וחילורי ידה יוחזון, ומלאכים יחפזון, וחילורי ידה יוחזון, ובשופר גדול ייתקע, וקול דממתך יישמע, ומלאכים יחפזון, וחילורי ידה יוחזון, ומלאכים יחפזון, וחילורי ידה יוחזון.
And so a great shofar will cry, Tkiah. A still small voice will be heard. Angels in a whirl of fear and trembling will say, Behold the day of judgment, for they too are judged. In your eyes even they are not blameless. All who come into the world pass before you like sheep before their shepherd. As a shepherd considers the flock when it passes beneath the staff, you count and consider every life. You set bounds, you decide destiny, you inscribe judgments.
בראש השנה ייכתבון, וביום צום כיפור ייחתמון. בראש השנה ייכתבון, וביום צום כיפור
On Rosh Hashanah, this is written. On the fast of Yom Kippur, this is sealed. How many will pass away from this world? How many will be born into it? Who will live and who will die? Who will reach the ripeness of age? Who will be taken before their time? Who by fire and who by water? Who by war and who by beast? Who by famine and who by drought?
בראש השנה ייכתבון, וביום צום כיפור ייחתמון. בראש השנה ייכתבון, וביום צום כיפור
Who by earthquake and who by plague, who by strangling and who by stoning, who will rest and who will wander, who will be tranquil and who will be troubled, who will be calm and who tormented, who will live in poverty and who in prosperity, who will be humbled and who exalted.
ותשובה ותפילה וצדקה מעבירים את רוח הגזרה.
But through return to the right path, through prayer and righteous giving, we can transcend the harshness of the decree. You are everything that we praise you for, slow to anger and quick to forgive. You do not wish the death of sinners, but urge them to return from their ways and live. Until the day of death, you wait for them, you accept them at once if they return. Since you created us, you know our impulses. We are but flesh and blood. Page 182. We who are mortal, our origin is dust, and so is our end. We wear out our lives to get our bread. like broken vessels, like withered grass, like a flower that must fade, a shadow moving on, a cloud passing by, mere dust on the wind, a dream that flies away. But for you, ever-living sovereign, time has no limits. Your presence, unbounded by days and years, is everywhere, a glorious mystery none can decipher. Your name is worthy of you, and you are worthy of your name, and our name you have linked with yours. Page 184, please rise. Be seated. We turn to page 214. Our tradition affirms the ability of each of us to channel God's blessing and to bestow it upon another person. So right now, I invite you to call to mind someone in your life who you want to bless. Maybe it is someone very close to you that you're even sitting next to. Maybe it is someone far away. Maybe it is someone that you had a conflict with recently or a long time ago. Maybe it is someone who has passed from this earth, or maybe it is someone who's yet to be born. Whoever that is, hold them in your heart, and if you want, you can even turn to them and give them a private word of blessing, a personal word of blessing right now. And we'll sing together this ancient benediction, page 214.
Yevarechecha Adonai
God's blessings of shelter and care. May it be so.
Yair Adonai panav elecha v'chuneka.
May you receive the light of God's kindness and grace. May it be so.
Yisa Adonai panav elecha ve'asem lecha shalom. Shalom.
May you see God's favor and goodness, and may you partake of God's peace. May it be so. We take a few moments for silent reflection.
morning. Shana Tova to all. I am honored to have this opportunity to speak to you on behalf of West End Temple as your president. As we enter the Jewish year 5783, we are once again reminded of our temple's presence in our lives. The holidays give us the opportunity to reflect on our relationships with God, with family, and with friends. As we come together in observance of our Jewish faith, we choose to share this time surrounded by our temple community and the secure and inviting environment which it provides. This is the time of year for Tikkun Olam, repairing the world. It begins with repairing oneself and family, then our congregation and larger community, culminating with repairing the world. In the Torah, we are commanded to give tzedakah, translated as charity, but it actually means doing the right and just thing. In Judaism, giving to those in need is not viewed as a generous and magnanimous gift, but the performance of a sacred duty, giving those in need what they deserve. Generous giving to West End Temple allows our synagogue at a community level to fulfill this mandate of tzedakah and acts of loving kindness to members of our own congregation, as well as the larger community of the Rockaways and beyond. So today, as I am presenting our annual High Holiday Appeal, it is not merely that your donation is counted, but that each individual person has a chance to be counted. In our tradition, even the poor count and are expected to give to those more unfortunate than themselves. No matter what we give counts. Your donations and volunteerism really matter. In our overbooked lives between home, kids, school, jobs, and careers, there is often little time for oneself, no less for anyone else. The list of our obligations and to-do lists are far too long. Our plates are full. Our finances are often tight. However, when we add one more thing to our full plates or make one more contribution of our time and resources, rather than our plates being overfilled, it often feels as if our cup runneth over with satisfaction and blessings. Often we receive far more than we give while we perform mitzvah in the process of repairing the world. At West End Temple, we visit and deliver food to the elderly and homebound, collect food for City Harvest, volunteer at the HUC Soup Kitchen, and collect kosher pasta for Hanukkah to repair the world. When we enthusiastically find ourselves joining committees such as the Beautification and House Committee, the Religious School Committee, the Reopening or Security Committees, and supporting the programs in the temple by becoming an usher for the holidays, leading a service, participating in the intergenerational program, filling Purim bags, selling food at the Purim Carnival, or buying mums and bales of hay for Sukkot, we feel personal satisfaction for doing good. So my hope for West End Temple is that we are a true sacred community where its members give of themselves and their resources in any and all ways. Together we form a vibrant and generous community in which each of us chooses to stand up and be counted. I know that most of you arrived here today having already decided what you would donate to the temple. And please believe me, we are so very grateful for every single dollar. There would not be a West End Temple without your generosity. Today, though, I have to ask you to dig just a little deeper. An extra $10 or $20 would really mean a lot to us this year. Every little bit really does count. If you are a congregant of West End Temple, you should have received a High Holiday Appeal pledge card in the mail. If you are a friend or guest, there are High Holiday Appeal pledge cards on the table outside the sanctuary. The High Holiday Appeal donations bridge the gap between the annual dues and our operating expenses. In addition to supporting Jewish education and maintaining a safe building environment, these funds enable us to continue providing leadership, guidance, and cantorial music, which is a hall of our reputation. Furthermore, it provides support for social outreach, philanthropy, and long-term planning for our community. Thank you for being here today. Thank you for listening. Thank you in advance for your kindness and generosity to this year's High Holiday Appeal to help us do what we do best, continue our programming for ourselves, our families, and for the world around us. And thank you for being a part of West End Temple. A healthy, happy, and prosperous New Year to all.
We continue now with Avinu Malkeinu and Seder Kriyat HaTorah, the service for the reading of the Torah. We turn to page 224, and I'd like to invite up Alyssa Burke and Thomas Burke to open the ark. Please rise. Avinu Malkeinu, we stand in awe, we draw close in love. Avinu Malkeinu.
בשמיים ובארץ, אדוני ומלאכיו, המתנשא לגוי. רוממו אדוני אלוהינו והשתחוו להר קודשו. רוממו אדוני אלוהינו והשתחוו להר קודשו. כי קדוש אדוני אלוהינו רוממו. כי קדוש אדוני אלוהינו רוממו. רוממו אדוני אלוהינו והשתחוו להר קודשו. רוממו אדוני אלוהינו והשתחוו להר קודשו. כי קדוש אדוני אלוהינו רוממו. כי קדוש אדוני אלוהינו רוממו.
Well, you may be seated. Thank you, Thomas. Hey everyone, we're going to read from the Sefer Torah now. We're going to read the story of the Akedah, which is the binding of Isaac. And I have to say that every year I really struggle with this reading because the story is very, very disturbing. It is the story of a father who takes his son to sacrifice him, doing God's will, and then ends up not doing so and instead sacrificing a ram. And from that we have the connection to the holiday because, of course, the shofar that we're going to hear later is from a ram's horn. So every year, Cantor and I were just discussing, like, how do you teach this to children? I don't know. There's no way to really teach it in a way that feels like there's a straightforward, comforting lesson here. And so I struggle with that. I definitely struggle with that. I think this year, I'm really thinking about just the questions that arise when we read the text. I had a teacher in rabbinical school who said, okay, we're going to read this passage, and what we're going to do is just think of all of the questions that are generated as we are reading this text. For example, why did it take 3 days for them to walk to the place that God was showing? What was going on in their minds on those 3 days? The Torah doesn't tell us. Where did the ram come from? Why didn't Abraham notice the ram before, and was the ram there the whole time? The sages teach that the ram was actually there before creation even. So there's a number of fascinating, disturbing questions, doubtful questions. Why did God ask this of Abraham? What does that mean? And all I can say on this day when we're really thinking through things and reflecting is that I think one of the things that this story teaches us is to keep thinking and keep reflecting and keep struggling and learning and asking questions. And that, I think, is what has drawn us to this text over and over again, despite the uneasiness that I think it generates. It generates a connection that's based on questioning and dialogue, and the notion that in each generation, we add our voice to these answers, and we contribute, and we write the Torah with the Torah. So speaking of our next generation, our first Aliyah is going to be our teens. So any teens that are here, Alice, you probably count. If you want to come on up, you can have an Aliyah to the Torah. Come on up. We had a number of teens who had their bar bat mitzvah in the past year or so now they can take on this mitzvah, this commandment of blessing the Torah. So come on over. The Torah reading is on page 240. It's 240, and we are going to have 3 aliyahs today. So just think about this. The next aliyah is going to be members who have been with us for more than 20 years. So if you are a person who has been with this community more than 20 years, you are on deck for the next aliyah. The third aliyah is going to be those that are new to our temple who have been here less than 5 years. So that's who's on deck for that, so get ready. And come on over. Oh, teens. Oh, yeah. Okay. Serena and Laura, amazing. And you have some helpers. Okay. Helpers, if you want to come on up, you can.
יעמדו כל הנערות ובחורות ובחורים לעלייה לתורה.
Okay, let's just find our spot here. Right here. Come on over. Some blessings. Ryan, can you hold right there, please?
Baruch Adonai Baruch Leolam Vaed. Amen. Vayihiu. This is wrong, actually. There it is. Amen. Vayihi. אחר הדברים האלה, והאלוהים נישא את אברהם, ויאמר אליו אברהם, ויאמר הנני, ויאמר הנני, ויאמר קח נא את בנך את יחידך אשר אהבת את יצחק ולך לך אל ארץ המוריה והעלהו שם לעולה על אחר הערים אשר אומר אליך וישכום אברהם בבוקר ויחבוש את חמורו ויקח את 2 נעריו איתו ואת יצחק בנו ויבקע עצי עולה ויקום וילך אל המקום אשר אמר לו האלוהים. ביום השלישי וישא אברהם את עיניו וירא את המקום מרחוק. ויאמר אברהם אל נעריו, שבו לכם פה עם החמור, ואני והנער נלכה עד כה, ונשתחווה ונשובה עליכם. ויקח אברהם את עצי העולה, וישם על יצחק בנו, ויקח בידו את האש ואת המאכלת, וילכו שניהם יחדיו. ויאמר יצחק אל אברהם אביו, ויאמר הנני בני, ויאמר הנה האש והעצים, ואיה השה לעולה. ויאמר אברהם אלוהים ירא לו השה לעולה בני, וילכו שניהם יחדיו.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan lanu Torah emet, v'chayei olam nata b'tochenu. Baruch atah Adonai nototi Torah.
Teens, I want to bless you with a Shana Tova Umetuka, a sweet and happy new year. I love all of you. Alice, I don't even know you, and I love you. I'm so happy you're here, and it's been wonderful getting to know all of you this past year and really seeing you. I've seen you grow, and many of you have celebrated your B'nai Mitzvahs, and I just bless you with an ongoing dialogue with our tradition and just blessing you with adding your voice to our community and having fun together, because Judaism should be fun, and you're already doing it, and that is great. Shana Tova, thank you for coming, and you can go down. Okay, so we'd like to call now those of you who have been part of this community for more than 20 years. More than 20 years, come on up.
יעמדו זקנים ושוטרים לעלייה לתורה,
Zakanim. Thank you so much. Wow, look at it. Do you need some? Okay. Okay. Baruch Adonai habarach le'olam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim, v'natan lanu et torato. Baruch atah Adonai notei ha'torah. Amen. Amen. Vayavo el hamakom asher amar lo Elohim, vayiven sham Avraham et hamizbeach v'ya'aroch et ha'etzim, vaya'akod et Yitzchak beno, vayasem oto al hamizbeach mimal ha'etzim. Vayishlach Avraham et yado, vayikach et hamachelet, mishchot et beno, vayikra elav malach Adonai min hashamayim, vayomer Avraham, vayomer hineni, vayomer al tishlach yadcha al hana'ar, Val ta'as lo me'uma, ki ata חסכת את מנחת יחידך ממני. ויישא אברהם את עיניו, וירא והנה איל אחר, נחז בסבך בקרניו. וילך אברהם ויקח את האיל, ויעלהו לעולה תחת בנו. ויקרא אברהם שם המקום ההוא אדוני יראה, אשר יאמר היום בה' יראה. People who have been in our congregation more than 20 years, including people who are not that much older than 20, but were maybe born into the congregation, so that's beautiful. You are the stewards of our temple. You hold the traditions and the history of our temple. You have brought it to this point, and you are carrying it into the next chapter. And I look around at each of you and look at all of the tremendous gifts that you bring and all of the many ways that you contribute, each in your own way, to our congregation. And I want to bless each of you with a happy, happy, sweet new year. And I will see you many, many more times in this year to come and in the years to come. Hashanah Tova. Okay, so if you are new to our congregation, come on up. 5 years and less. Maybe even if you are brand new today. Yes, yeah, come on. You have 1 year under your belt, Jonathan and Cassandra. That's amazing. Come on up. Barak.
יעמדו החודשים שיעלו פירושים לעלילה ולא תורה. Oh, we need Baruch Adonai Haborach Leolam Vaed. Amen. Amen. ויקרא מלאך אדוני אל אברהם שנית מן השמיים ויאמר בנשבעתי נאום אדוני כי יען אשר עשית את הדבר הזה ולא חשבת את בנך את יחידך כי ברך אברכך והרבה את זרעך ככוכבי השמיים וכחול אשר על שפת הים וירש זרעך את שאר אויביו ויתברכו בזרעך כל גויי הארץ עקב אשר שמעת בקולי וישוב אברהם אל נעריו וילכו יחדיו אל באר שבע וישב אברהם בבאר שבע.
the presence of our Torah, we turn now to those in our lives who are in need of healing, of body, mind, and spirit. So we turn to the Misha Beirach prayer. It's found on page 245. And in the booklet for services this morning, you'll find the names of people in our community that we are thinking of and praying for. And if you'd like to share the name of someone for whom you are praying, please do so as my eyes meet yours. Baruch atah Adonai Rofei Cholim, blessed are you, God, who heals the sick. We rise now as we lift and dress the Torah. I'd like to invite Stacy and Scott Nagel as Hagba and Galila, page 246. And Emma. Everyone. We continue with our prophetic reading, the Haftarah. The blessings will be led by Jill Hunsaker, and Jeff Zweifler will be reading from the Haftarah, so come on up. And we are on page 247.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher barchar b'nviim tovim v'ratzav divrehem hanemarim b'emet Baruch atah Adonai habocher b'Torah ובמשה הבדול, ובישראל עמו, ובנביאי האמת והצדק.
Thus said the Eternal, a people survivors of the sword, gained grace in the wilderness. Long ago, when Israel was on its journey home, the Eternal appeared and said, with an everlasting love, I have loved you. Indeed, with a love that is faithful, I draw you near. Once more, I will build you up, young maiden Israel, you will be made anew. Once more, you will take up your drums in hand and join in the dance of the joyous. Once again, you will plant vines on Samaria's hills, and the planters will live to enjoy them. For a day is coming when watchmen will announce in the hills of Ephraim, arise and let us go up to Zion, to the Eternal our God. For thus said the Eternal, cry out in joy for Jacob, cry out in praise over the pinnacle of the nations. Sing and shout and say with voices raised, Eternal, save your people, the remnant of Israel. I am here to bring them back from the land of the north, to gather them from ends of the earth, the blind and the lame among them, women who are pregnant along with birthing mothers. They shall return here, a great community. With weeping they will come, with compassion I will guide them. I will bring them on a smooth path to brooks of water. They will not falter, for I have become like a father to Israel, and Ephraim is my firstborn. Nations, hear the word of the Eternal, declare it in the distant islands, and say, the one who scattered Israel will gather them in, and guard them as a shepherd the flock. For the Eternal has redeemed Jacob, and saved him from hands stronger than his own. Happy their song when they reach the summit of Zion, and bask in the glow of divine generosity. Grain, wine, oil, sheep, and cattle. They will be like a well-watered garden through and through, never again to languish. Then maidens will dance with delight, the young and their elders together. Their grief I will turn into bliss. I will comfort them and gladden them in their time of sorrow. The priests will have their fill of fatness, and my people, my bountiful goodness, declares the Eternal. Thus said the Eternal, a voice is heard in Ramah, wailing, bitter weeping, Rachel weeping for her children, refusing to be comforted for her children, for they are gone. Thus said the Eternal, keep your voice from weeping, and your eyes from tears, and your labor shall have its reward. Declares the Eternal, they shall return from the enemy's land, and there is hope for your future. Declares the Eternal, your children shall return to their land. How I hear Ephraim lamenting. You have disciplined me like a wild calf. I have been disciplined. Help me return, and I will return. For you are my eternal God. Now that I have turned back, I am filled with sorrow. Now that I am made aware, I strike my thigh in remorse. Ashamed and humiliated, I carry the disgrace of my early life. Truly, Ephraim is my precious child, my delight. And though I speak against him, I remember him with tenderness. and that is why my heart yearns for him. I will receive him back in love, declares the Eternal.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, tzur kol haolamim, tzadik b'chol hadorot, ha'el ha'nehiman, ha'omer ve'osei, hamdaber u'chayehi, shekol diverav emet v'tzedek, al ha'torah, v'al ha'avodah, v'al hamdin, v'al yom hazikaron hazeh, שנתת לנו, אדוני אלוהינו, למחילה לכבוד ולתפארת על הכל, אדוני אלוהינו, אנחנו מודים לך ומברכים אותך, יתברך שמך בפי כל חי תמיד לעולם ועד, וברכי אמת וכיום לעד. Baruch atah Adonai melech haolam. Baruch atah Adonai melech al kol haaretz mikadesh Yisrael v'yom hazikaron. Amen.
My middle daughter, at least at this stage in her life, is not such a talker. I didn't tell her she was in the sermon. So. She's our quiet one. She often answers our questions about her day with one-word answers. The most reliable way to hear her voice is to ask her about dessert. What is her favorite ice cream shop and why summer camp is the best? Because they serve dessert at every meal. And so when she raises a topic or asks a question, you know it is something that is weighing on her mind. On a beautiful day this past spring, we were walking together to her piano lesson in silence. She looked up at me and asked, "Mommy, there is so much pollution all around, and the storms are getting so much worse. What will happen when I grow up?" She was talking, of course, about our changing weather systems, rising temperatures, increasing drought, heat waves and fires, more frequent storms and storms that are more intense. I felt a lump in my throat because I recognized a shade of despair in my child's voice. I recognize that despair because I share it too. So much is at stake, and we are already starting to see it. I had to think about how I wanted to respond to my child whose inner voice I helped to shape. I mustered. It is a scary problem, to be sure, but there are many people who care about it and many people who are working on it. We have to live with hope because that is the only way we can. And we continued to walk together in silence, her voice resounding in my ears. In a few minutes this Rosh Hashanah morning, we will hear another voice, the voice of the shofar. This is a voice that is meant to wake us up to what we need to hear, to what our priorities should be in this new year. Throughout our history, the voice of the shofar has been many things: a battle cry, a summons to sacred assembly, a cry of despair, a call to repentance, a call to action. The shofar also represents our own voice. On Yom Kippur, we will read from the words of the prophet Isaiah, who implored, "Cry from the depth," says God, "do not hold back. Kash shofar harem kolecha. Lift up your voice like a shofar. Kash shofar harem kolecha. Lift up your voice like a shofar. Cry from the depth and do not hold back." As I continue to think about the right way to answer my child, and all of our children, and all of us, as we experience our weather becoming less predictable and more dangerous, I wonder, can we lift up our voices like the shofar? First, I want to consider our own inner voice. We know that what we tell ourselves in our own heads is the foundation for what we say to others, and ultimately what we do and how we behave. Can we change our inner voice? Instead of saying, this issue is about saving the planet, can we recognize that our planet will be around long after we are gone? Can we say, not even we need to save our children or our grandchildren or our great-grandchildren, can we say with all directness, we need to save ourselves? That this is a question of pikuach nefesh, of saving lives, the highest value in Jewish life. There are so many weather-related catastrophes that many of them even fail to make it to the headlines. But there is one image that sticks with me from this summer. This past July, devastating floods struck eastern Kentucky. The area had already been experiencing a drought when heavy rains and flash flooding and river flooding caused the deaths of 39 people. 4 of those deaths were siblings who were all under the age of 8. Their names were Madison and Riley Jr. and Chance and Nebaet. At 2 o'clock in the morning, their parents heard the flash flood warnings. Soon after, the water started to rush into their trailer. They climbed to the roof of the trailer. When the water reached the roof, they floated over to a tree. They clung to the tree and to each other, but one by one, the children floated away in the rushing water. The parents were rescued about 6 hours later by a man in a kayak, but the children were found dead the next day. Stories like these of devastation and despair and death, they are happening around the world and in our country with greater and greater frequency. Stories like these remind me that we are not talking about some remote problem that might happen in the future to people far, far away. Stories like these remind me that my inner voice should call this a paramount, immediate Jewish issue of pikuach nefesh, saving lives. Stories like these remind me that this is a moral imperative that goes even beyond stewardship of our planet. But sometimes the weight of that moral imperative is crushing because the effect has been and will be so far-reaching and so devastating. And on top of it, the thought of trying to implement solutions that will work fast enough and be far-reaching enough, that can be crushing. Sometimes it makes me feel like crawling into a hole and just trying to ignore it. But the Torah says, choose life, even when we feel like crawling into a hole. And so I think we are challenged by Judaism to cultivate a different inner voice, a voice that is hopeful and encouraging and confident. A voice that we can use to remind ourselves that human ingenuity and dedication are setting us on a better course, that there are solutions out there and they are starting to be implemented. Just in the past couple of months, we have seen major steps forward coming from the public sector. California is moving to all electric vehicles. Major federal initiatives are already in the works to promote clean energy and wean us off fossil fuels. And local changes are on the horizon too. I recently spoke with Gregory Slade, who is the chief of staff for our district assemblywoman, Stacey Pfeffer Amato. He shared with me that our assemblywoman has fought successfully to put a bond on the ballot for this November, which is the Clean Water, Clean Air, and Green Jobs Environmental Bond. This $4.2 billion bond would provide for multi-year projects to reduce flooding and protect our shorelines and improve water quality. And innovation is flowing from the private sector. I've been following the Israeli company Aviation recently, and they recently completed a taxi test for an all-electric plane suitable for short commutes and cargo, which actually account for about half of all air traffic. Carriers have already ordered many of these aircraft, and its first flight will be any day. I was kind of wondering if they would choose Rosh Hashanah for their first flight, because that would be kind of cool. The well-known Israeli philosopher Yuval Harari, who wrote the book *Sapiens*, asserts that if we invested just 2% of global annual gross domestic product in eco-friendly technologies and infrastructures, just 2%, we could prevent the level of warming that is expected to trigger catastrophe. In other words, the problem is of course complicated and of course challenging, but we can do something to mitigate it. And so we can remind ourselves positive changes are happening and there is reason to have hope and to be encouraged. And so I hope that each of us can cultivate an inner voice that is hopeful and optimistic. I also hope that that inner voice will lead us to use our voice in another important way by having conversations. According to the Yale Program on Climate Change Communication, 72% of Americans believe global warming is happening, and nearly 3 out of 4 people are personally worried about it. But only 35% of people discuss it, even occasionally. And this is not a surprise. I think that many people are so daunted and overwhelmed by the problem that it feels too scary to talk about it. I also think the issue has become so politicized that people don't want to talk about it because they are afraid that the conversation will devolve into a partisan fight. However, talking about it, using our voices, may be the single most effective thing that we can do to move forward. I recently read an incredible book called Saving Us, A Climate Scientist's Case for Hope and Healing in a Divided World by Dr. Margaret Hayhoe. Dr. Hayhoe is an evangelical Christian. And in the book, she discusses the impacts our changing weather systems are having on our environment in places all over the world and on our lives. She reiterates the truth that human activity of burning fossil fuels is creating these changes. She reminds us that only through systemic and universal change can we curb warming enough to avert the worst effects. She acknowledges how many of us are worried about it, but paralyzed by fear or confusion about what to do, or guilt about we haven't done anything or we can't be effective, or some combination of these. But she writes, the single most important thing I do and that you can do has nothing to do with solar panels or food or recycling or light bulbs. The most important thing every single one of us can do about climate change is to talk about it, why it matters, and how we can fix it, and use our voices to advocate for change within our spheres of influence. As a parent, a child, a family member, or friend, student, employee, or boss, shareholder, stakeholder, member, or citizen, connecting with one another is ultimately how we change ourselves, how we change others, and how we change the world. We can talk about it, and we can teach about it. In a recent study by Danielle Lawson, who studies science education, middle school teachers implemented a climate change curriculum for 2 years in coastal North Carolina, which is a fairly conservative area of the country. The study surveyed parents before and after the 2-year period to find out their attitudes on climate change. Was it real? Was it affecting anything? Should we try to fix it? After 2 years, conservative parents' attitudes had shifted. Specifically, daughters were quite effective at influencing their dads. Parents' hearts were changed, and subsequently their minds were changed as they were able to accept the science behind climate change. Although these teachers taught science to their middle schoolers, Hayhoe makes the point that science is actually probably not the best way to jump off these conversations. The tipping point in this study revolved around the relationships between the kids and their parents. So too in our conversations, seeking common ground and shared values will be the way to go. We are approaching the 10th anniversary of Hurricane Sandy, which hit the Rockaways on October 29th, 2012. It is a trauma that I hear about at least once per week in my work here in this community. Here in the Rockaways, we care about the beach. We care about our homes, including our amazing temple. We care about the impact that storms have on our homes and our neighborhoods and our lives. When we approach conversations from that perspective, from our shared values, therein we can have an impact. What if each of us went to the beach for Tashlich later and we talked to someone, a friend, a temple member, a neighbor, about how much we love the beach and what could we do to protect it? What if each of us talked to a Christian neighbor about how the Bible that we share teaches that God cares about his creation and asks us to do the same, and that God cares about the vulnerable, and those are the people that are most affected by our unpredictable and extreme weather? What if each of us went home today and talked to one neighbor about protecting the Rockaways from future storms and flooding? What if each of us went to our places of work after the holiday and taught a lesson about our connection to nature, the science of climate change, or asked our colleagues to think about a way the company could conserve resources in some way? What if our teens and college students went back to school after the holiday and talked to one other peer or started a group on their campus? Kashofar harem kolecha. Lift up your voice like the shofar, says the prophet Isaiah. Cry from the depth and do not hold back. This Rosh Hashanah, my daughter is counting on me. This Rosh Hashanah, all our children, our grandchildren, are counting on us. We ourselves, we must count on each other. It is a question of pikuach nefesh, saving lives. Let our inner voices channel despair into hope. Let our speaking voices rise in conversation with others, forming a chorus of conviction and strength and inspiration and action that can and will make the changes that we need to make. Shana Tova.
I will open my eyes. I will not look away. I will use this gift I've been given every day. I have a voice. My voice is powerful. My voice can change the world. I have a voice. My voice is powerful. My voice can change the world. Change the world. I will fight for the truth.
I will fight for the truth.
I'll stand up for what's right.
I'll stand up for what's right.
I will use the strength I've been given to be a light. I have a voice. My voice is powerful. My voice can change the world. I have a voice. My voice is powerful. My voice can change the world. I have a voice. My voice is powerful. My voice can change the world.
now hear the voice of the shofar in the shofar service. We are so blessed and excited that Stephen Wagner is here to sound the shofar for us. Wonderful, wonderful. Member for more than 20 years. Amazing. Exactly 20 years, okay. Okay, so one interesting thing about this machzor is that there are 3 shofar sections, but what they did was they spread them out throughout the service in a way that I didn't like. So we put them all back together, but what that means is that you have to turn the page, and it seems like we're sort of skipping around in the book, and that's because we are skipping around in the book. So we are going to go to our first shofar section, which is on page 205. So page 205 is where we are. And where am I? I am on page 205. Okay, so let's read together at the bottom of page 205. Blessed are hearts that respond to the majestic music of the shofar. Blessed is the gift of life, the power of renewal that brings us to this day. Page 206, please rise.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lishmoa kol shofar. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam shehechianu v'kiyamanu v'higyanu lazman hazeh. Tekiyah. Shvarim Teruah. Tekiyah. Tekiyah. Shevarim. Tekiyah. Tekiyah. Teruah. Tekiyah.
Page 267. We continue with the next section, Zichronot. Let's read together in the middle of the page. God of remembrance, remember the covenant of our ancestors. We reaffirm it today. Remember, we are a people of noble ideals. Help us attain them. Remember all your people, all the nations on the road to peace, and bless their efforts. Remember with mercy the binding of Isaac, the sorrow of Sarah, Abraham's words, "Here I am." Our memory fades, but you remember all that we have forgotten. Your presence is a throne where all things matter and nothing is lost. Baruch atah Adonai, Zocher Habrit. Blessed are you, Adonai. You remember the covenant. You remember us.
Tekiyah. Shevarim Teruah. Tekiyah. Tekiyah. Shevarim. Tekiyah. Tekiyah.
183. Let's read together. I know that poverty must cease. I know this through the brokenness and conflict in my heart. I know that protest is my most prophetic act, and that the world is longing for a new soul, a new healing moment. I know that when we awaken to our origins and become truly human, we bring hope to the children and to the earth. I feel called today to bring the people together to break the bread and tell the story. I feel called today to be a mystic in action, aligned to the dynamics of the universe. I feel called today to give my gift, to listen to the heartbeat of the broken world, to heal the fragmentation of people and planet. I feel called today to celebrate the wonder of creation and to respond to sacredness and the challenges of life. I feel called today to participate in the work of my time, to fall in love, to feel at home. I feel called today to be inflamed with enduring hope, to be at one with the universe, to be touched by God. I feel called today to compose a new paragraph for life. Baruch atah Adonai, shomea kol tzurat amo Yisrael barachamim. Blessed are you in our lives, Adonai. You hear with love the shofar, the true voice of your people Israel.
Tekiah. Shevarim teruah. Tekiah. Tekiah. Shevarim. Tekiah. Tekiah. Teruah. Tekiah gedolah.
Stay right here, Stephen. Hold on, yes, because we have Lance and Dorothy, your parents, come up, please, to open the ark as we return the Sefer Torah to the ark on page 276. Thank you so much. remain standing as we turn to our concluding prayers on page 286. We'll continue now with the Great Aleinu. It's a special Aleinu just for Rosh Hashanah. In fact, the Aleinu prayer originated with Rosh Hashanah and became so popular that it ended up in every single service, but it is from Rosh Hashanah. And we call the Malchuyot of God, the royalty of God, that which is so much bigger than us. And to really show that, our student cantor is going to lie down all the way on the floor where it says Anachnu Korim, where we bend and bow. And if anyone else wants to come out into the aisle and go ahead and do that and try it out, feel the true humility. It is really something else. So, page 286. יש כוכבים שאורם מגיע ארצה, רק כאשר הם עצמם עבדו בעינם. There are stars up above so far away we only see their light long after the star itself is gone. So it is with people that we loved. Their memories keep shining ever brightly, though their time with us is done. But the stars that light up the darkest night, these are the lights that guide us. As we live our days, these are the ways we remember. Our thoughts turn to loved ones whom death has taken from us in recent days. If you are in the period of Shiva, 7 days following the passing of a loved one, please share their name. If you are in the period of Shloshim, 30 days. Shiva. Okay. If you're in the period of Shloshim, 30 days, please share the name of your loved one. Usually, yeah. Yeah. Who died? Yeah, who died? Tell us. Thank you. If you're in the period of Shana, 1 year following the death of a loved one, please share their name. If you're observing a yard site, the anniversary of a death on this Rosh Hashanah, please rise, share the name of your loved one. And in our community, we are remembering Lynn Cramberg, beloved member of our congregation, for whom we are in the period of Shloshim. Our hearts open as well to the wider circles of loss in our community and wherever grief touches the human family. Zichronam livracha, may their memories be a blessing in this new year and always. We continue now with Kaddish Yatom, the mourner's Kaddish. Please rise or remain seated, as is your custom. Page 292. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei rabba, v'alma divra chirute v'yamlich malchute, v'chayechon u'vyomechon u'v'chaye d'chol beit Yisrael, ba'agala u'vizaman kariv v'imru, amen. Yehi shmei rabba mevarach le'alam u'almei almaya, v'yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitrumam v'yitnaseh, v'yit'aleh v'yit'alal shmei d'kudasha v'rihu. Le'ela u'le'ela mikol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechemata, da'amiran be'alma v'imru, amen. Yehi shlama rabba min shemaya, B'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru, amen. Osei shalom b'imromav, hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'al kol yoshvei tevel v'imru, amen. May the source of peace bestow peace on all who mourn, and may we be a source of comfort to all who are bereaved. We say together, amen. Be seated, and I'd like to call upon our president to share with us some announcements.
Good afternoon, everyone. It's now afternoon. We have a family service today at 2:30 p.m. and we're going to bless the new babies in our congregation, and we have some. Tashlik is today at 3:30. They're meeting at Beach 149th Street entrance for the ceremony. Next Friday night is an early service at 6:30 with potluck. We have Shabbat B'Yachad with Rabbi Josh Weinberg on Saturday, October 15th at 11 o'clock, and he's going to be joining us to learn, think, and dream about Israel together. We have our weekly seniors discussion group on Wednesdays at 10. We have Shabbat Torah study on Saturdays from 9 to 10 on Zoom. And Sukkot is coming up On Sunday, October 9th at 4 o'clock, we'll have the Sukkot service with Pizza in the Hut. And on Monday, October 10th at 10:30, we're going to be having our service and then sushi in the sukkah. And Simchas Torah is the following week. And on Sunday at 6, we're having a potluck and service. And on Monday at 10:30, the festival, Yiska service, and a Kiddush luncheon. L'Shana Tova, have a sweet and healthy New Year.
Page 294. Hayom Te'amsenu. Strengthen us on this day.
Amen.
Hayom Tevarchenu. Bless us today.
Amen.
Hayom Tegadlenu. Lift up our lives on this day.
Amen.
Hayom Tirdashenu L'Tova. Grant us goodness today.
Amen.
Hayom Tichtevenu L'Chayim Tovim. Inscribe us for a good life on this day.
Amen.
Hayom Tishma Shavatenu. Hear our heartfelt words today.
Amen.
Hayom Tekabel Barachamim Uvaratzon et Tefilatenu. On this day, receive our prayers with love.
Amen.
Hayom Titmechenu B'Yamin Tzidkecha. Fortify our best intentions. May we go forth today to do your righteous work. Amen and Shana Tova.